Hello all. Well, it's finally time. We're about at the end of my regular photography season, and it's time for me to give you my thoughts and opinions of these two here drones, and we'll try and figure out which one I would buy if I could only buy one today, and which one I would buy if I already had the Lite Plus and I needed something else to complement it. So I got some notes here, and we're just going to talk about these two drones. And then maybe towards the end of the video, we'll talk about what's on the other end of that table and those puzzles back there. But for now, the main subject of the review is the drones. So let's get into that, shall we? And if the audio is a little weird, I apologize, but turns out my Rode Wireless Go doesn't boot up half the time anymore, so I decided I didn't want to deal with it today. I had some trouble with it the entire time I was on vacation in Banff, which is over now, obviously, since I'm home. But yeah, it's getting to the point where I don't even want to mess with the Rode Wireless Go anymore, so I might have to look into replacing that next year. But yeah, the trip went well. I went to Banff. I decided to try hiking the Little Beehive Trail at Lake Louise for the first time ever, as my very first hike, despite the fact that I am pushing 49 years old. But yeah, I completed the hike. I got all the way to the top, and I've got pictures to prove it, and I'll show you one right now. So yeah, I made it all the way up there. It wasn't fun, it wasn't easy, but I made it. Okay, enough rambling. Let's get into these drones. Alright, I'll put my notes right in front of you where you can't see them, hopefully off camera. And we'll talk about the Nano Plus first. This guy right here. So in the pros column, we have the red, yellow, yellow, blue quad Bayer filter in this drone. And as you saw in my last video using this drone, and of course the other one in low light conditions, that you really cannot beat this drone for low light when it comes to a micro drone. This is the best on the market. I am absolutely sure of that right now. And we saw evidence of that in my video. Sorry about that, guys. I'm a little hoarse today. Now, another thing in the pro column is the controller ergonomics. They remain a little bit better than the DJI competition. Unfortunately, that comes with sort of a downfall too, because this controller is really hard to get in my camera bag. Obviously, there's no place to put these control sticks on the controller, so you gotta either leave them attached, or you gotta buy this thing from Etsy that goes over top of this piece here that lets you store the sticks, and I'm not paying 40 bucks for something like that. So yeah. Another thing in the plus column is no geofencing. And that was the biggest reason why I actually got this in the first place, was because I got so sick and tired of my Mini 2 not firing up where it was legal to do so. And that just has not been a problem with this drone. Okay, moving on. It's slightly cheaper to get this drone than one of these guys right here. Not too big of an issue for me. I have the money, so obviously I have the money if I could buy two of them. But yeah, if you're real sensitive to cost, then maybe consider this one. Now, another thing in the pros column is good transmission range from this remote here. I think it's a little bit better than the Mini 3 Pro. If you care about that, then yeah. I don't really care about that quite so much because I'm never very far from my drone, but I just don't like to fly these things too far out of line of sight because, number one, that's not legal, and number two is if the drone happens to go down, like my Lite Plus did, I want to be able to see where it goes down. Now, initially, this thing wasn't very good at wind resistance, but I'm finding it is now, thanks to copious bug fixes throughout the summer months. I think that Autel is slowly getting the bugs worked right out of this. Unfortunately, this one over here has been a more polished product from the very start. It's had fewer bugs, fewer issues, and it's been in general a more painless ownership experience. So, another thing to talk about is support from Autel. I can't really speak to what it's like for this drone because this drone has not failed, but you may recall that my Lite Plus went down real hard in the middle of a farmer's field. And I'm happy to report that the support experience I got with that was generally very good. It was a little slow, but they did replace my drone. They replaced my drone with a brand new one, in fact. So, yeah, that's something we got to do yet, is get the new Lite Plus out to see if it works. I haven't done it yet. It's been here over a month, but I just haven't had the time. But maybe in a few weeks or so we can do that. All right, what else have I got on my notes here? Log video enables low light video shooting to a degree the Mini 3 Pro can't match even in decent alike. And yeah, we definitely saw evidence of that in my low light comparison video. And of course, we've got an HDR mode in this, which is still not present in this drone. I find that useful once in a while. And you can charge a battery in the drone. And the one other pro I've got on my list is you get very sharp video out of this. Now, that can be a pro or a con, depending on what you like your video footage to look like. I find it just a little bit excessive in some cases, but in most cases, I like the way this shoots. And I like the way the video looks. Now, unfortunately, guys, I've got more in the cons thing than I've got in the pros thing for this drone. First issue I've got with it is the vignetting on the lens. They both have a vignetting issue, but this one's got more of an issue. And I find that I cannot completely solve that through Lightroom. What happens is there's this hot spot right in the middle where you get perfect colors and everything's good, everything's wonderful. But then outside of that little hot spot, you've got the colors going off, and it's just really, really hard to compensate for that in Lightroom. And I'm basically just talking about stills photography there. For video, it's not so bad. So if you're more into video, then maybe this is the drone for you. Now, another big issue I've got with it is this guy is less able to hold still in wind to do stills photography. It can go up to 8 seconds on a long exposure, but that number is basically meaningless. Even 2 seconds is hard for this guy to hold still for. This one, not so much. This one's fine up to 2 seconds, which is good because that's as far as the software will let you go on that one. Now, another big issue I've got with it is this charger. I hate this charger. I really do. It lets you charge 3 batteries simultaneously, but look, I gotta charge my batteries inside the car while I'm driving. Try getting this thing to work while you're driving. I dare you. It's really hard. And because of this design here, you cannot use this as a power bank like DJI lets you to do. Like both of these here, I can use them both as a charging bank if I want to. Which I tend to find comes in actually quite handy, especially when I'm out in the middle of nowhere and my phone's battery is about dead and I just need a way to charge it. Okay, next up, another issue. We've got Autel with the slow firmware updates. there are features that have still not been added to this drone that have been promised, at least as far as I know, at the time of this recording. They promised us active track, and we don't have that yet. And it's taken, I don't know, how many months to get to this point where this drone has been reliable? I don't know. I feel like they're a little bit slower than the competition with that. Whereas the Mini 3 Pro came out with almost no issues at the very start. This guy had trouble with the wind, had trouble with the camera, had trouble with all kinds of things, and they're still fixing bugs on this thing. This one, almost completely bug-free. So, next one, we already talked about this. This controller has no place to store the sticks. We won't go any further into that because I've already complained about it. Alright, next up. Raw color profile still has some issues with color accuracy. That's entirely due to the vignetting on this lens. So, yeah, this is not my first choice for a stills photography drone. It just isn't. This one is. This one's fine for stills. Neither one of them matches up to the Lite Plus, but you kind of come to expect that from a drone costing twice as much as either one of these cost. Alright, another issue. Well, maybe it's not so much of an issue for you as it is for me, but you can't get a controller with a built-in screen like this. I would love to have that for Autel, especially for the Lite Plus. But no, both of those drones get the same controller, and it's ergonomic, don't get me wrong, but it's real irritating to store that controller. That stick feels kind of loose. Oh well, not a big deal. Now, the really big issue I have with this thing is we still have no Pro controls in log video mode. That is potentially a deal breaker for me because we do get that with the DJI. And I just want to have more control than this thing gives me. And they just don't seem to be in a hurry to add that. So, I don't know. Lately I haven't really found myself using this drone very much because of that. So, yeah. Minor issue next. There's no ability in here to have the drone fly around obstacles with its obstacles detection. We do get that with the Mini 3 Pro, but not with this one. Not too big of a deal for me because I'm always out shooting abandonments or such, and I've always got my eyeballs on these drones, and I know exactly where I'm flying them and where I don't want to fly them. So, not too big of a deal for me. Now, next issue. It's really hard to get lens filters on and off of this thing. Let me pop this off here. As you can see, my finger sizes are gigantic compared to this little teeny tiny gimbal. So when it comes to putting those freewheel filters on it, it's really quite difficult for me to do that. DJI has it all over Autel on that, and you can see how hard it is for me to just even get the gimbal cover back on this guy. But yeah, DJI has a way of getting the front filter off, on and off real quick. You can store it with the filter on. You can put the gimbal cover on, I mean. But this one, you got to take the filter off every single time you put that gimbal cover on. Now, last issue on the page. For this drone, you have to have it in the air to change any camera settings. That is not a problem for the Lite Plus, and it's not a problem for the Mini 3 Pro. I don't understand why it's like that. It's kind of annoying, but it's, again, not really that big of an issue for me. So, that's the Nano Plus. I can't think of anything else since I put together these lists. So we're going to stop complaining about that now, and we're going to move over to the Mini 3 Pro. Rustling papers as we go. Okay, now the pros and cons of the Mini 3 Pro. Actually, let's move this off to the background here. That way we get everything in a line here for you. All right, first big pro of this drone. This controller. I have no words for how convenient it is to have a controller with a screen built in. It's annoying to boot this thing up because it takes for frickin' ever to do it, but yeah, it's just been great. I love this controller. And you've got, look at that, space for the sticks. DJI is always thinking about that kind of thing. Autel could do well to learn from that. Now, next big pro. Let's see if I can find him here. That's probably, there's one of them now. You can get the plus batteries for this drone, meaning it will stay in the air much longer than the Nano Plus. And I find that even with the standard batteries, it stays in the air longer than the Nano Plus. So if battery life is important to you, obviously this is the drone that's important to you. Obviously neither one of them holds up to the Lite Plus with its gigantic batteries, but again, you don't expect that from a micro drone. But yeah, that's also a downside because these plus batteries make you go overweight, so you do have to register this if you get the plus batteries. Fortunately, I am happy to report that Transport Canada now has a database entry for this drone with the plus batteries, so this guy's all legal to use whichever batteries I want to use with it. Now, next pro for this drone is it's got that vertical lens mode. I've never used it, but maybe that's important to you. You can have this lens, see if I can get this gimbal cover off. You can have this lens go all vertical, which is kind of not a bad thing to have when you're dealing with a camera with this kind of a pixel density count. If you're only going to get 12 megapixel shots out of it, then yeah, it's real good to not have to crop anything. Now you can get the Nano Plus sensor in a sort of a vertical flippy motion like that, but you have to go up to the Lite non-plus. That's where you get this sensor and the ability to go like that with it. So with Autel you can do it too, you just have to spend more money. Now, another big plus for me, 4K 60. I don't use that too often, but when I do, I really need it. And sadly, the Nano Plus cannot do that. My Lite Plus can, and this can. That's all I need. Now, I talked about lens vignetting, and I mentioned that both of these drones have it. Well, this one's got slightly less of it than the Nano Plus does. This one I can compensate for pretty easily in Lightroom. And that partially goes back to the differences in what do you call it? Sensors. Yeah, that's the thing. This one's got red, yellow, yellow, blue, which is still a little bit difficult for software to deal with. Well, this one's red, green, green, blue, quad Bayer. So, a little bit easier to work with the files from this thing. Although, that does come with a big drawback, as we saw in the low light video, where this thing can just not keep up with the Nano Plus. Now, aside from that, you get better wind resistance than the Nano Plus, better firmware support. Right out of the box, this thing was in better shape than the Nano Plus was. We do get the Pro camera controls with D-Cinelike, which is their version of log video. And yeah, Autel's really got to work on that, because if they don't, this is probably getting retired. Now, moving on, we've got better photo stills, thanks to the red, green, green, blue. I just mentioned that. Obstacle avoidance does allow the drone to go around obstacles on this one. Again, not something I find particularly useful, but maybe it's useful to you. Now, I've also mentioned this, but these multi-battery chargers that can double as a power bank, again, much useful for charging in a car. And just like the Nano Plus, you can charge one battery inside the drone too if you need to. So I think moving forward, what I'm going to do when it comes to this drone, I'll just try and put that back on. I'll probably keep one battery in the drone and then 3 batteries in one of these, and then I'll have 4 batteries I can use. This 5th battery I don't have any use for because I'm not bringing 2 of these giant things everywhere. 1 is enough. Got to figure out storage space for all these things, so that's been a major problem for me over the summer is 3 drones. I got to carry them all around, and what do I do with them? Now, I've already mentioned the easy lens filter installation. All you got to do is just take this back off again because I wasn't thinking straight. All you got to do to change the lens filter on this is just rotate it till it clicks, pull it off. Easy peasy. Couldn't be any easier, especially for a guy with hands like these. You can see that my hands just dwarf everything here, so I really appreciate the ease of use of getting these filters on and off. I'm probably going to regret putting that back on again, but whatever. Okay, so that's it for the pros on the Mini 3 Pro. Let's get with the cons now. Now, the number 1 con I've got on my list is this thing is notably worse in low light than the Nano Plus. And I mean, the difference is massive. I do get better stills out of this after dark, but like you saw in my comparison video, the low light performance just is not there for video. This is not the drone to use if you want really dark video. There's only one drone on this table that does that well, and that's this one. Now, next con, lens vignetting. I've talked about that. Enough of that. Plus batteries require drone registration. I've talked about that too. Next one is the gimbal protrudes from the body of the drone. So if the obstacles detection fails on this and you're flying towards a tree, get ready to have your drone smashed. Maybe that's a big deal for you, maybe it isn't. It doesn't bother me whatsoever because I'm not in the habit of flying my drones toward solid objects that I don't expect to move out of my way. Now, next con, there is no prop guard from the factory. I had to buy this one from Amazon. This one's actually quite good. It keeps everything safe. But yeah, I would have just really liked to have something come with the drone itself because I don't like having to buy extra stuff like that. Sorry, I should be drinking water right now, but I'm not. Okay, next issue. Micro SD cards are really, really hard to get in and out of this thing because they are past flush with the drone body. So you got to get in there with a fingernail, and then click it out, and very carefully pull it out. I find this very annoying because I constantly have my SD cards out of my drones in order to unload files from them. All right. Next issue, the geofencing. I haven't really encountered too many situations yet where this thing has refused to take off, but I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. In those situations, I reach for this thing anyway, or the Lite Plus, which is superior to both of these drones, but we're not talking about that right now. Okay, next issue. D-Cinelite cannot recover low light video like the Nano Plus can. And we've talked about that before, that it's entirely down to the sensor. I will grant you that one of these has f1.7 versus what is this? f1.9. And you might think that number is a big deal, but it really isn't. The difference between f1.7 and f1.9 is a fraction of a stop of light. It makes no difference whatsoever. We can compensate for that easily in just software alone. Never mind the differences in the sensor quality. But yeah, the only reason why this does so poorly in low light is because it's using a traditional red, green, blue color filter. This one's got the red, yellow, blue, and that's why this one's better for low light. It's just the way it works. For red, green, blue, you would need a bigger sensor just to catch up with this thing. Fortunately, that's what the Lite Plus has. Now, I've already mentioned this one, slow boot time with the RC controller. Yeah, I'm starting to get to the point where I automatically fire this thing up first, because usually if I fire up this thing first, I'm sitting there waiting for about a minute and a half for this guy to boot. So, yeah, maybe that's something you need to consider. The other DJI remote boots up a lot faster, and it's the same remote that comes with the Mini 2. And I'd show you that remote right now, except I sold my Mini 2. I found I just wasn't using it anymore, so I figured, why not let this go off to someone who could use it? So that's where it is now. It's very happy with its new owner because it's getting used. I hadn't used it in months, so I'm glad to have found a home for it. Okay, final con. No HDR yet. I'm hoping they add that, because I would like that ability with this drone. There are some situations where the HDR on this thing really helps. So that's why this thing is still sticking around. Well, that and the extreme low light ability of that drone. Okay, so rustle some more paper, and now we'll get into my final thoughts. Let's rearrange things here first. Get these two together. Okay, so here are my conclusions. This guy is better for photography. This guy is better for videography. This was better polished out of the box, but this is still improving with every software update. This is better in the wind, has better battery life, has that vertical camera mode, but this is unquestionably better in low light. There is just no arguing that at this point. I was able to pull up detail from video shot in pitch black conditions that this thing just could not handle. Now, what's next here? And I've already mentioned this, but f1.7 versus f1.9, complete non-issue. Don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. 4K 60 can only be done with this drone. I had been hoping that they would add that to this drone, but they have not. I suspect they are doing that to drive people towards the Lite and the Lite Plus, because those drones can do 4K 60. But 4K 60, this guy is losing to this guy at least one feature. And the very last item on my list here is to tell you guys not to worry so much about 8-bit log versus 10-bit desync-alike. I'm still not entirely sure the 10 bits coming out of this thing is actually legitimate. It might be interpolated or something like that. I'm finding that the 8-bit stuff that comes out of this drone is plenty good enough for YouTube. So I wouldn't worry about that at all. And the 10-bit out of this, yeah, I really haven't noticed too much difference between video quality of the two. This one's slightly better for some things. This one's slightly better for some other things. So yeah. Okay, now we're at the end. Which one of these would I buy if I only had the money for one drone and did not have the Lite Plus? Well, let me get my finger coming down slowly. That's it right there. I would buy this one all day, every day, if I needed only one, if I had the money for only one drone. And I absolutely needed one to replace the Mini 2. This one is plenty good enough. So we'll set that back there. It won that little competition. Now, actually we'll put it there because we've still got one more thing to talk about. Now, if I already had the Lite Plus, which one of these would I buy? Well, easy one. Mini 3 Pro, all day, every day, twice on Sunday, 5 times on Monday. It's just, this complements the Lite Plus in a way that the Nano Plus can't, I find. It's easier to fire up thanks to this controller. I can use the battery bank as a power bank. I can use I can use the Plus batteries to give it more time in the air. And yeah, it's just far more convenient to use this than it is to use this, if you know what I'm saying. So there you have it. My preferences and my thoughts as to which drone is better for what purpose. Again, I find this is a little better for video and this is a little better for photography. It's just a matter of what's more important for you. Okay, now that that's out of the way, we will put these drones to the side here, and I'll talk about these puzzles real quick. Don't want to do too much with them because this is obviously not part of the channel, but over the last year or so, I've become convinced that my life has been unnecessarily complicated by, let me just call them the trio of terror on the internet. Facebook, Twitter, and Reddit. All 3 of these websites I'm kind of addicted to, and I'm finding them extremely, well, not extremely, increasingly more toxic. I'm just so sick of it these days. And yet I can't pull myself away from them long enough to get my brain to lock into novel writing mode. So I figured I'd go back to what I was doing when I was broke and in Saskatoon and had no friends and had no cable TV and had to kill time somehow. I read a lot of books and I did a lot of jigsaw puzzles. So what I'm going to do is try to get back to the jigsaw puzzles, and then maybe my brain will wake up and realize that I'm turning 49 and I cannot wait forever to start writing again. So I got a stack of 8 of them there. I got 4 of them in Banff, and I got the other 4 of them at a really awesome toy store in Maple Creek called Cowtown. If you ever wanted to buy puzzles anywhere in Saskatchewan, go there. Trust me, they have every puzzle you could ever conceive of, and it's all the high quality stuff too. But yeah, I'll just show you these puzzles real quick here. Like I said, these will probably not be on the channel because it's not really a puzzle channel. I mean, I could feature them maybe if you guys are interested, but first we got that one, Lakeshore Serenity. You're going to find that most of these are Springbok because that's my favorite puzzle brand. They're just always high quality to me, so I tend to just go heavy on Springbok. And number 2 for me is actually Cobble Hill, but I didn't get any Cobble Hill this run. I will next time, though. Okay, next one. Another Springbok, 1,000 piece. The Hunting Lodge. Moving on, and the one I'm going to start working on immediately after I stop filming this. Getting Away. That looks like it could be a little tricky, maybe. I tend to enjoy these random cut puzzles better than ribbon cut. So who knows how hard they are until we actually do them. Next one. I've never had a Heya puzzle before, so I'm going to try this one. It looks interesting enough. I believe these are ribbon cuts, so maybe I won't like it, maybe I will. Next up, we'll get into the big ones. I have never done a springbok over 1,000 pieces before, but yeah, I got 2 of them right here. 1,000 or 1,500 pieces, Winter's Evening. I bet this one's going to be brutally hard. And I think I'm probably going to do this one over Christmas. Since none of the other puzzles I got really have a Christmassy feel to them. So yeah, I'll do this one for Christmas and we'll see how hard it is. It's probably not very easy at all. Now, the really big ones. I have never done a Springbok 2000. But I'm going to do this one. This one is Eiffel Magic, and you can get this one in 1,000 pieces too, if the 2,000 is a little intimidating. But yeah, this is one of the ones I got from Cowtown. It was the only place I could find that had the Springbok 2000, so kind of looking forward to this, kind of not, because it looks like this could be really hard in places. Now, moving on from there, I got a Clementoni. I've never done one of theirs before. I've heard they're good quality. We're going to find out, or rather I'm going to find out. We'll find out together if you guys want me to do something on this puzzle or any of these other puzzles, but yeah, I am kind of running out of ideas on just what to fill the time with for YouTube content while I'm in my off season, because I'm not really enjoying the electronics videos anymore. I've still got some of those projects to do, but yeah, in winter usually I'm not out shooting very much and I'm not really doing too much of anything else. This is really the time of year when I like to be writing novels, so last but very much not least, I got this enormous Ejuka 3000 piece. This will be another one that I have no experience with, and I'm looking forward to trying it. Kind of. I think this is one that's going to be extremely hard for me. In general, I don't like to do puzzles over 1,500 pieces because I tend to get tired of them real quick. But yeah, I've got this giant bulletin board over here that I can use to do the big ones now, so we're going to try it. Or I'm going to try it. You guys probably won't be here, but yeah, that's it for today, I guess. I'll see you guys next time.